Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Stillwater. We are a diverse religious community seeking spiritual experience and all forms of knowledge in an atmosphere of acceptance, love, and respect. Our mission is to protect and perpetuate religious freedom, tolerance, and knowledge, to challenge injustice, and to nurture and serve one another and the wider community. This morning, our minister is Reverend Susan Ross. Our musicians are Annye and Robert Patrick. And Robert did a wonderful karaoke last night that we really enjoyed. I think we can continue with announcements.
After the service, immediately after the service and before social time, we're going to have a congregational meeting. We will be deciding whether to approve the revised budget for this fiscal year. And then after the meeting, please join us for potluck. We set aside the third Sunday of the month to have lunch together and hope any guests and visitors will join us. The games group is scheduled to meet this Thursday, February 19th at 7 in the church social room. They play games of various sorts until about 9, and for more information on that, contact Joe Melnick. The adult religious education program called Spirit of Life will start this coming Thursday, February 19th in the Forum Room. It will run from 7 p.m. to 9 and will be led by Susan Bullard and Linda Smolin. Each session will explore a different aspect of Unitarian Universalist spirituality. The workshops are designed to be welcoming to UUs of many spiritual and theological persuasions. The series runs for 9 weeks, and you can register on CH Meetings, and there's also a sign-up sheet in the social room. Next Sunday's sermon will be provided by Reverend Mark Christian. His sermon title will be Fulfilling Our Vision. As he mentioned in the February newsletter, as we prepare to kick off our annual fundraising drive, I'm thinking of the ways to make real our visions and prepare our future. Speaking of fulfilling the vision, Saturday, February 28th will be the kickoff for our annual pledge drive. There will be a dinner and discussion groups. You can sign up on CH Meetings, or you can, there is a list in the social room.
Terry?
Yes.
There's also some more of these forms, if anyone wants to fill it out to say that you're coming and how many will be with you.
Okay.
It's right here. And it's out there by the hymn book.
All right. Thank you. You know it's spring when it's time to go pick up trash. We're assembling a group from our church to pick up trash in Stillwater's annual trash off on Saturday, March 28th from 9 to noon. The groups meet at Couch Park, and there's a sign-up sheet in the social room for people who are interested in joining us. For the last 2 years, our church group has been assigned the west side of Boomer Lake. So we're getting pretty experienced at cleaning that up. It wouldn't surprise me if we get it again. So, if you have an announcement, please come up to the microphone.
I do, and can I stay where I am?
Well, nobody will hear you but this room.
We'll hear you.
Just, yeah, if you don't want it to go out.
It's okay.
the ladies' night out is back in March. And I can't print it because of copyright, but we are going to show 3 billboards outside of MB, Missouri. I don't know if any of you seen it. It's an extremely good movie. I don't know the date yet, but sometime in March. Also, the committee is thinking about doing Easter bonnet afternoon. We will supply the hats and the feathers and the bows and the ribbon and the netting, and you all decorate an Easter bonnet. So I will have a sign-up sheet for that. So that's it.
Other announcements? Let's see.
Is it okay if I close this? A moment. Okay, that's good. That's good enough. So this is the church minute, and the spiritual experience religious education committee has decided that we will take this minute if it is not being used by social action committee or the meet the church announcements, to share with you some spiritual experiences or readings or stories that we have. And you are also welcome to participate and bring and share for this minute, which is to be no longer than 3 minutes. And to do so, if you have something to share, please contact me. I am Shiitake Mama. This morning, I'm bringing a piece that was written by Reverend Dr. Margaret Stortz. It's called I Learn from Everything. It appeared in the January 2026 issue of Science of Mind magazine, published by Centers for Spiritual Living, or CSL. CSL originally was founded in 1927 by Dr. Ernest Holmes, and you might know him as the author of Science of Mind and many other New Thought classics. CSL and Science of Mind magazine turn 100 next year and continue the legacy of Holmes through writers like Margaret Stortz. You can learn more at scienceofmind.com. I learn from everything. Some believe that if an experience is deemed a failure, perhaps a relationship or an unsuitable job, it had no value. It was a waste of time. I consider this a short-sighted viewpoint because a good number of our experiences do not turn out to be positive. This would suggest they are not worthwhile. And this is not so. We are growing, expanding human/spiritual beings. We take in wisdom and awareness throughout our lives, from infancy to our last breath. And even though something is hurtful or perhaps even harmful, it is not devoid of experience, of importance. If we believe the mind we use is the mind of God, the mind, and I'm putting this in, of the divine and the all that is, all intelligence, all creativity, all substance is given, which is invaluable. If we do not know what we have and misuse it, the vitality and energy is still present for reuse when we make better discoveries about what we have. Mistakes and failures teach us this if we choose to learn. If growth and learning are two of the desired elements of becoming more fully self-aware, then nothing is wasted. Every wrong turn shows us a right one. The only real waste is self-castigation, for this creates only stagnation and regressive thinking. We can review the turns in every day. We can be more fully guided in what we do tomorrow. There is no doubt that we can learn and mature every day.
the promise of the Spirit. Faith, hope, and love abide. And so every soul is blessed and made whole. Truth in our hearts is our guide. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. Answering the call of love.
We light our chalice candle this morning as a reminder of the light that is inside of each of us, the light that is among us always when we gather together, the light that always is waiting out in the world. I would invite you this morning for just a moment in silence to reflect on the idea of joy. What does joy mean for you in your life? We stand now as you are able and join in singing number 100, Peace Like a River. Joy like a fountain. Ross Gay is a poet and also has written a couple of books of short essays. The first one was called The Book of Delights, and the second one is called The Book of More Delights. And in the second one, and they're just short reflections that he writes about something that happened to him. And in the second one, he tells the story about a day that he was taking his clothes to the laundromat to do his laundry. And he made it through the washing cycle and put his clothes in the dryer and decided he wanted to go outside and sit on the curb in the sunshine, because it was one of those days where the air was cool and the sun felt really good on your skin. So he went outside and sat down. And after he'd been there a moment, he noticed there was a man, a brown man, he calls him, walking across the sidewalk on the other side of the street, pushing a baby in a baby carriage. And as the man walked past a tree that was also on that side of the street, he saw the man look up, and he heard this voice come from somewhere that said, "Girl?" And the man nodded, and then the voice said some things like precious and beautiful. And Ross realized that the voice was coming from the tree. There was someone up in the tree talking to the man with the baby carriage. And the conversation went on, and it was a woman. He said he could tell it was a woman's voice. It sounded to him like a white woman, and maybe with a little bit of a Jersey accent. And she asked the man something about Halloween. He couldn't hear all of it. And then something about hair ties. And then something fell down from out of the tree, and the man bent and picked it up, and Ross said he could see that it was indeed hair ties that she had evidently dropped from the tree for him, and he picked those up and waved her a thank you and went on his way. And then there was a man that Ross hadn't really noticed who was standing over, kind of leaning against a telephone pole on that side of the street as well. And he had his cap pulled down over his eyes, so couldn't really tell much about him. But the voice seemed next to address him and said, "You okay?" And the man didn't ever look up, but he smiled and he gave a thumbs up. Well, Ross said that in the time that he sat there waiting for his clothes to dry, 13 people passed by, and the voice in the tree spoke to every single one of them and offered them her wisdom and her gifts, and people seemed to be pleased with that. Well, then he went back inside to get his clothes out of the dryer. And he went to the dryer, and they weren't there. So he thought, well, somebody took them out because they were finished, and he looked all around and couldn't see his clothes. So he asked the attendant, if she knew, and she didn't. But then he says she went into her detective mode and started opening dryers. And she opened one, and she held up this pair of what Ross calls granny undies, and she said, and then she started laughing, and he started laughing too, because they realized that the woman who had been in the laundry earlier, who was a kind of a smallish older woman, maybe kind of like me, had evidently mistaken his clothes for her and taken them, and it was funny in the sense that Ross is 6'4", and this woman was not going to be able to get much use out of his clothes. So the attendant had Ross give her his phone number so that when the woman brought the clothes back, and they were pretty sure she would, that the attendant could call him then. And as he was leaving the laundromat, then another woman, he calls her a jacked woman in a tank top and jeans, who's been looking at her phone the whole time, looked up at him as he walked out and smiled and said, "That's life in the laundromat." And Ross calls those things, he says, "I believe in almost nothing anymore except these fleeting sweetnesses, these dime a dozen precious sweetnesses that seem to me to be the organizing fact of our lives, or maybe more accurately, the reasons to stay alive. These people in trees, and people in laundromats, and people taking my phone number for when my clothes come back." So may we all be open to those sweetnesses.
We have a responsive reading, number 612. 612. Fearful joy. It is beyond thee to be glad with the gladness of this rhythm, to be tossed and lost and broken in the whirl of this fearful joy. All things rush on, they stop not, they look not behind, no power can hold them back, they rush on. Keeping step with that restless, rapid music, seasons come dancing and pass away. Rabindranath Tagore. It's time now for the offertory. This month, the entire offertory basket will go to Pastoral Care Fund.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Thank you. Lovely music. So sometime around Christmas, I read this piece written by a young adult sort of person he was writing about what it's like to go home for Christmas and then decide that you're going to go with your parents to the Christmas Eve service at the church, even though you haven't actually set foot in a church for probably 15 to 20 years. He says he actually enjoyed that experience much more than he thought he would. It was nostalgic for him. The singing was kind of fun. You know, they had the words printed out on a sheet of paper for the Christmas carols so he could sing along. And he thought it was wonderful, except he wanted to give a word of warning to other young adult folks like him who might have that same kind of adventure, and warn them that The Christmas carol, Joy to the World, has nothing at all in it about bullfrogs. That actually is one of my favorite songs, the one with the bullfrog. It's my favorite part, I think, of the movie The Big Chill. The part at the beginning where Jonathan, the young son of Harold and Sarah, two of the lead characters, played by Kevin Kline and Glenn Close, is in the bathtub playing with his bath toys and singing at the top of his lungs about Jeremiah, who was a bullfrog and was a good friend of his. And that is happening at the same time that his parents are receiving a phone call telling them about the suicide of their college friend, Alex. It's an emblematic scene, I think, that one, emblematic of the way life was in the 70s, the way life is now, the way life always has been. There's sorrow, there's injustice, there's woundedness, there's tragedy. And then sometimes inexplicably, there is also alongside it, alongside all of it, joy. Nadia Bolz-Weber is a Lutheran pastor. She's famous for her salty language and tattoos everywhere. She has spent a good part of the last couple of years traveling around having rallies in red states, including ours. She had one here, to talk about how spiritual people might deal with what's going on in our country these days. And she was interviewed last month. She actually, Nadia, had to interrupt she had to put the tour, the Red State tour, on hold when she learned that she had breast cancer and had a mastectomy and then had to recover from that. She is well on her way to recovered now, and she was interviewed last month by author and artist Suleika Jawad, who is herself someone who has experienced cancer, I think. She has had 3 different occurrences of leukemia in her life. Our book club read a book she wrote a couple of years ago, I think. And the title of the video they made of their conversation together is called When the Shit Hits the Fan. So they talked about, for a while, their experiences living with cancer, and also about how to respond to the world and what the world is like right now. And at one point, Suleika asked Nadia, if you could offer one permission slip to everyone who's in the thick of it, what would it be? Nadia thought for a moment, and then she answered, I think it's that you have permission to experience joy right now. It's okay. I know all this stuff, I know all of it's happening, but you have permission to notice whimsy and experience joy. It's okay. Despair's not going to save our asses right now, man. She actually said that a little bit more strongly than I just said it. But joy might. Insisting on beauty and goodness might. And then Suleika, who had been nodding this whole time, added, even if it's the micro joys, even if it's the micro beauty. Permission to experience joy. A while back I wrote in the newsletter about having read someone's criticism of all the people who dress up in costumes when they go to protests. She felt like that they were taking away from the seriousness of such protests. And I disagreed, and I talked in that article in the newsletter about a then recent No Kings protest that I attended, where I was standing in the cold rain holding my rapidly deteriorating poster board sign that read, "We have a constitution, not a king," and feeling, glad to be there among all the people, but also feeling very wet and cold. And then I noticed across the street, and was delighted to notice, a person in a T-Rex costume. And they were dancing around and waving at the cars as they drove past, and, probably much drier than I was, since they had on the T-Rex costume. But then it got better. Suddenly, it seemed out of nowhere, another T-Rex appeared. And the first T-Rex gave this little jump of surprise and recognition, and then they ran into each other's tiny arms. And it was joyful. Joy helps us survive. It keeps us going, it sustains us, but it's more than that. Joy in the face of injustice is an act of resistance. To give ourselves permission to let joy find us is to be able to stand up to whatever needs standing up to. Maria Popova says, in a world pocked by cynicism and pummeled by devastating news, to find joy for oneself and spark it in others, to find hope for oneself and spark it in others, is nothing less than a countercultural act of courage and resistance. This is not a matter, she says, of denying reality. It's a matter of discovering a parallel reality where joy and hope are equally valid ways of being. To live there is to live enchanted with the underlying wonder of reality beneath the frightful stories that we tell ourselves and that we are told about. I am not a football fan. Have to confess that in a college town, but it's true. I've never watched a Super Bowl game, but I have watched quite a few Super Bowl halftime shows. And this last one was pure joy. A perfect example of how joy can be heartwarming and spirit-lifting and toe-tapping, and also make a powerful statement about justice and equality. This past summer, on an episode of the NPR program Code Switch, that was titled with the question, "Is joy an act of resistance?" One of the hosts on that show, and the two hosts on the show that day were having a kind of argument, a debate about whether any kind of joy can be resistance or only certain kinds of joy. And one of them interviewed during the program Kelly Carter Jackson, who is chair of the Africana Studies at Wellesley College and author of a book called We Refuse, A Forceful History of Black Resistance. They asked her what she thinks it looks like for joy to be an act of resistance, and this was her response. How people engage in joy, who is engaging in joy, I think matters quite a bit. When you're talking about a protest, for example, and you're seeing people at a march and they're all sort of chanting, "No justice, no peace," or chanting, "I can't breathe." And then in that moment, someone brings out a boombox, and the next thing you know, they're doing the electric slide, and then people who are just crying are now in uproarious laughter. That, to me, is joy in practice. You're taking something that's traumatic, something that's painful, and you are insisting on justice. You're insisting on your basic humanity. And for me to see that in action is a very joyous thing. It really is. It can be contagious. But not everybody gets the depth of joy unless you understand the suffering, unless you understand the cost that is required to conjure up that joy. I mean, the cost is steep, especially when I think about racism, when I think about white supremacy, when I think about all the isms, capitalism, sexism, when I think about homophobia. When you think about how taxing all of those are, how oppressing, how they engage your everyday life, how you're constantly being interrupted and distracted and burdened by people's stigmas of you, or their negative ideas about you, or their deficit ideas about you, trying to combat that is not easy. I talk in my book about enslaved women and how they would sometimes in the middle of the night go out into the forest, sometimes miles away, and throw these dance parties. And you might say to yourself, well, how could a slave go out and throw a party? And aren't they supposed to be miserable? And you know, if we say that enslaved people found happiness or joy, is that problematic? Are we saying that the system is okay? No, the system is absolutely not okay. They are doing this in order to carve out spaces for themselves to experience joy, to experience happiness, even under the threat of being caught, of being whipped, of being sold away. There's danger in pursuing joy as well, because it is always under threat, always under attack. In a piece from the UU Service Committee on their website, a piece that's titled "Joy is the Secret of Resistance," they quote Dan Savage, who was a writer for Seattle's The Stranger. During the darkest days of the AIDS crisis, we buried our friends in the morning, we protested in the afternoon, and we danced all night. The dance kept us in the fight because it was the dance we were fighting for. It didn't look like we were going to win, and yet we did. It doesn't feel like we're going to win now, but we could. Keep on fighting. Keep on dancing. And I would add, keep on singing. Singing Resistance, which we've talked about the last couple of weeks, the group that started in Minneapolis and now is spreading everywhere, is one way to do that, because singing is joy. And singing can bring change. People sang during the suffrage movement, during the civil rights movement, during protests against the Vietnam War. The Singing Resistance group itself was inspired by Otpor, a Serbian civil resistance movement that was responsible for overthrowing a dictatorship in 2000. The Book of Joy is, and I think we might have read that in book group too, is about a visit between the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And in that book, it was 10 years ago, I think it was on the occasion of the Dalai Lama's 80th birthday. And the book includes a discussion of what they call the 8 pillars of joy. And they are perspective, seeing things from more than one angle; humility, which comes from the same root as humus, the soil, the earth, so earthliness, earthiness; humor, joy brings laughter, and laughter can also bring joy; acceptance, there's a Buddhist saying, why be unhappy about something if it can be remedied, because then you should just remedy it. But then why be unhappy about something that can't be remedied, because there's nothing you can do. Forgiveness. freeing ourselves from the past, gratitude, compassion for ourselves and for each other, and generosity. 8 ways to be open when joy shows up. Nick Cave wrote a song a few years back called Joy that's about a visit from his dead son during the night. And these are the lyrics. I woke up this morning with the blues all around my head. I felt like someone in my family was dead. I jumped up like a rabbit and fell down to my knees. I called out all around me, "Have mercy on me, please." And over by the window, a voice came low and hollow, spoke to my pain, into my yearning sorrow. "Who is it?" I cried. "What wild ghost has come in agitation? It's midnight. Why disturb me so late?" And then I saw a movement around my narrow bed, a ghost in giant sneakers, laughing stars around his head, who sat down on the narrow bed, this flaming boy, and said, "We've all had too much sorrow. Now is the time for joy." And all across the world, they shout bad words, they shout angry words about the end of love. And yet, the stars stand above the earth, bright, triumphant metaphors of love, blinding to all who care to stand and look beyond, and care to stand and look beyond above. Joy, joy, joy. And this is Maria Popova's translation of a poem by Mario Benedetti. Defend joy like a trench. Defend it from scandal and routine, from misery and misers, from truancies passing and permanent. Defend joy as a principle. Defend it from bewilderment and bad dreams, from the neutral and the neutron, from sweet infamies and grave diagnoses. Defend joy like a flag. Defend it from lightning and melancholy, from the fools and the frauds, from rhetoric and ruptures of the heart, from the endemic and the academic. Defend joy as a destiny. Defend it from fire and firefighters, from suicides and homicides, from vacations and ruts, from the obligation to be joyful. Defend joy as a certainty. Defend it from rust and smut, from the famous patina of time, from dew and exploitation by the pimps of laughter. Defend joy as a right. Defend it from God and winter, from uppercase and the casket, from surnames and the pity of chance and of joy, too. Amen, and blessed be, and joy to you and me. Our closing hymn is hymn number 245, Joy to the World, but Annye is going to, and there's no bullfrogs in ours either, sorry, but Annye is going to start us out with an introduction from another song about joy that you might recognize, and then we'll go on into Joy to the World. So go ahead and stand as you are able.
Every
Happy birthday.
We're going to sing happy birthday before we do the closing, because I insist.
So we'll break from this tradition. So, well, this is our happy birthday time. So all who have birthdays today, this month, February,
So they should raise their hands.
here we go. Happy birthday, here's to you. Happy, happy birthday, cheers to you. May great goodness keep you all year through. And we love you, we do. Happy, happy birthday, here's to you. Happy, happy birthday, cheers to you. May great goodness keep you all year through. And we love you, we do.
When we go out from this place, may we go to open our hands and our hearts to joy. Amen.
And that now concludes the recorded portion of our service.